welcome to the Northpoint Guys podcast. I'm Josiah Smith.
And I'm Michael Scott, and we are so glad that you're joining us. We're in season 2 now.
Season 2.
And I hope you checked out last week's episode where we kind of gave a summary of what's happening this summer at Northpoint.
There was a lot of stuff there, a lot of information.
But you know, one of my favorite moments of last week's episode was our special guest.
We did have a special guest.
We did have a special guest, and it was Trever Primus, and he is actually back with us today with his wife, Chloe. So Trever and Chloe Primus, they're part of the staff here at Northpoint. So thanks for being here, guys.
Right on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So thanks for coming when you're scheduled to come, Trever.
I tried to sneak on last time, but I need an invite to really get in here.
You came a long way, too.
Yeah.
So
you could have just said, hey, can I be on the show sometime? And
It's
we
much easier to just walk through the door.
Yeah. So if you can just introduce yourself to our audience and talk about what you do at the school, and we'll go into your origin stories here in a little bit of how you came to Northpoint, but just even talk about what you do now and kind of what departments and what you're involved in. So,
Trever, go.
Oh, I go first. So let's see. How I came to the school and what department I work in. Yeah.
Well, just like where you work right now. Yes.
Currently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us your official title.
Oh, I am officially the administrative assistant to the dean of academics as of Monday.
Come on.
Yeah.
He is fresh.
Yeah, I've done one project, and I hope it went well. I don't know yet. So
Sure
we'll see how long I keep the title
I already
for.
got an email from you,
Yeah.
with your official email stuff.
Wow. But you're no
Like,
stranger.
Man, he's doing work.
You're no stranger to working at the school, though.
No. Would you like a list of jobs I've done?
Actually, yes. Please give
Okay,
us,
let's
as
see.
fast as possible, the list you've done at Northpoint.
I've been on security. I worked in the dish room. I worked as a cleaner. I worked as a grounds guy, a maintenance guy, a mover. I worked as a executive chef for a bit. I worked as Dr. Gallagher's official flower boy for a while. I worked as Dr. Gallagher's assistant for a while. I think I was somebody's TA for a week. So
Should we ask what a
What the flower boy?
Well-
It's like at a wedding, the flower girl just walks before the bride. So he walks before Dr. Gallagher.
and just drop white rose petals everywhere
what
he
those
went.
are.
only
on the
white,
sidewalk.
only white
Yeah.
roses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, he actually used to plant all of the flowers and plants on campus. He maintained all the beds and the grounds. So through the winter, he would grow them in his basement. And then when the summer came, he would tell me to go plant them. So it was
That's
my job to
excellent.
put them out and
That's
water
excellent.
them and take care of them.
So now you are moving up, assistant to the dean of academics.
Yeah.
And then future president of Northpoint.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm doing the Gallagher route.
Right.
Step by step.
Step by
You
step.
get there
Yeah.
eventually.
If you stay
They just
here
make you
long
dean.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
where
will
you
become the
be. That's
dean
where you be.
of something.
There you go. There you go. And then Chloe.
Yeah, so I am assistant to the dean of students.
Oh, your boss is
Michael.
the
Sounds like a swell guy.
Yeah, so that's been fun.
And how long have you been in that role? I mean, I know, but
Almost 5 years.
that's crazy.
Yeah, this December it'll be 5 years.
That's awesome. So is that something you started right after you graduated?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
She's
What a
been in the
boss, too.
admissions office too, right?
Yeah, that's where I
when you were-
started.
Nice.
All right.
Cool. So you're part of the Northpoint family. You guys are working here, but obviously that's not how you started at Northpoint. You guys actually came as students and then you met here. So I want to hear the story, how you guys came, why you came to Northpoint, and was it Zion back then even? So I was like, all that. So why did you come? What did you study? We'll just start with that.
Let's see. I was the first year it was officially like Northpoint. Like it was no more Zion. We were the first like full Northpoint class. And that was 2013. I came in, I did a major in biblical theology, obviously, but a focus in, it was called church ministries at the time. I think it's called ministerial leadership now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a church ministries major. And I came here because my pastor at the time was at one point the president. So
wow.
yeah, I was helping out with the youth group. Another Zion like alum was running the youth group. And I was preaching one night and he came up to me afterwards and he was like, you need to be in ministry full time. You should go to Zion. And I was like, okay, let's go. And we went there and it was called Northpoint. And he's like, well, it's the same thing. Like he didn't know the name changed. So I came up here because the president told me to. And I couldn't say no to that.
Yeah.
So let me get this right. So you were in youth group at that point?
I was
Or
helping,
you were helping
with youth group. Yeah.
So you were already graduated from high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started helping with them when I was 20. because I came here when I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that sounds like that happened very quickly, but like, how did that? You don't have to tell the full story, but like, he recommended you come to Zion, and then you came.
Yeah.
What time?
Essentially.
Was that? Was that like
Well, I was actually going for a major in communications and philosophy and sociology at a state school back in Connecticut. And he was like, we can go up to the Experience and check that out. And I was like, sure, when's that? He's like, 2 weeks from now.
okay.
I was like, okay, let's go. So I went up and filled out the application. I talked to them over the summer, went to California on a missions trip for the summer, ended up meeting youth pastors on that trip who pastored in Linfield, which isn't far from here.
Yeah, right.
Got connected with them, also Zion alums. And it was like 2 weeks after we got back, they called me like, hey, you're accepted. Like, do you want to come? And I was like, sure. So I just showed up here and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? So it was a wild, like,
That's amazing.
2.5 months of just boom, 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 and we're here.
Yeah,
So
Wow.
I'd say so.
So, I guess we didn't say this before, but you're from Indiana.
no.
Wow, I totally got the back. Sorry.
Wrong.
So you're from.
Where are you
Spoiler
from?
alert.
Where are
You're
you
from
from?
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
You just said that.
Connecticut.
And then, but Chloe, you're from Indiana. So coming
Oh,
from
there we go.
Connecticut to Massachusetts isn't as crazy as coming halfway across the United States.
It's pretty wild. It's a lot different than Connecticut. Connecticut's boring and slow. So like just the way people drive up here, right? The way we drive in Connecticut, it's like, oh, I'm going 68. I need to slow it down. Like people up here are like, I'm going 80 and you're in my way.
Yeah,
So
people
that's
up here
true.
like, I'm
That's
true.
pulling
It is-
out whether you see me or not. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how fast you're going. Like,
it is oddly
yeah.
a culture change because I'm from Southern Connecticut, so more towards New York. So we get a lot more New York influence than we do Boston influence. So I had actually never been to Boston or really Massachusetts, like maybe once or twice before coming here.
Wow.
Yeah, which is weird because I was so close.
Yeah. So then Indiana to here. What's the story behind that?
So I was in youth group at the time, and my senior pastors were Zion alum, and then my incoming youth pastors were Zion alum. So there was a lot of Zion influence at the time. And so as I got closer to graduating, it was always, you should go to Zion, you should go to Zion. Because at that time I was in leadership and leading worship. But I was trying to do my own thing. I was going to move to Indianapolis and go to cosmetology school. But I knew God was calling me into ministry. So it was like a crazy long story of all these Zion alum just coming into my life. So one of the professors came and spoke at our church, and he was like, you should go to Zion. I was like, so, and then my youth pastor's mentor at the time came, and he was like, have you thought about going to Zion? So it was just all these people coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so finally we went to National Fine Arts with our worship team. And so Zion had a table there, and it was like, fill out an application. You'll get like this drawstring bag and a water bottle. I was like, I want that. So
That is the reason
That's
you
what
came.
sold
I
her.
need
She's
to
like,
collect
that
it.
water bottle right there.
Sweet. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the thing was you had to fill out half an application at least. So I filled out half the application. I was like, all right, I'll get my water bottle. Then we went to evening service, and there God just like wrecked my life, called me into ministry. He just like spoke to me and was like, whatever, like I call you to, I'm going to prepare you for. So I went back to the booth and I filled out the rest of the application.
That's awesome.
Now, did you get a second drawstring bag or a second water
No,
bottle for
no.
filling out a second half?
Yeah, they recognized me, so I only got one.
You know, though, that just, it's cool to hear how you said it was just like one person after another mentioning Zion, Northpoint, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, some of them probably didn't even know how much that influenced you.
Right.
Right.
But like obviously and God knew, like, oh, I'm gonna arrange this where these people intersect your life.
Definitely.
And it's just cool because I think you're going to speak at a camp next week, and I'm sure you're excited about it. It's gonna be good, but like to think that a couple years from now, some student could be like, oh yeah, it's because this guy Dean Michael Scott preached at camp, and just
And then he told me after service you should go to Northpoint.
yeah, you should go to Northpoint.
Now I'm going to say that to every student.
I was going to say, according to her story, people just walked up and said it. So if you just keep
just
saying
do
it,
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter who,
Yeah.
just keep saying it. Someone will come.
No context, just you should go
Yeah.
sign.
But
Yeah.
it seems to be a common theme, even in Trevor's story as well, that going to California on this mission trip, California out of all places. It's like, oh yeah, I met this youth pastor from Massachusetts. He was a Zion alumni. And then I met all these other, like, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a nice reminder that God uses people to help direct people. You know, and sometimes we do have those moments where we're in prayer or, you know, we just hear God speak to us and it's like, yes. And then a lot of times I think it is just people, God using people. And again, those people may not even know it, or you may not realize at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, the first person who said it, you were like, oh yeah, okay, that's nice. You went there, whatever. And then the fourth person who said it, you're like, oh, maybe it's not just you who's talking. Maybe God is talking to me. So I think that's a good reminder. And actually, I don't know if we plan on going this way, but I am interested in just in hearing how did you guys come to faith in Jesus? So just hearing parts of your story ignited that. I'm like, well, I want to hear more. So Trever, how did you come to know Jesus?
So I was raised in the church from the age of 2 onward. Well, actually, no. We started like fully going at 2, but my parents had just started going to church. Like my parents got baptized when I was 2, but they had just started going to church when I was born. And because of that, like I was just kind of immersed in it my whole life. I have a kind of weird household story. My father was actually a heroin addict for about 25 years. So we had a lot of toil and trauma. But the constant during that entire time was church. We went to church 4 times a week. And no matter what, we were in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, Friday.
Wow.
And then my father eventually went to rehab, and then we started going to church at rehab as well. So my mom was always very much pushing, like, go to church.
Yeah.
So church was just part of the culture for me, like, growing up. But an actual, like, relationship, the actual, like, moment of salvation didn't happen until I was probably 18. And I was on the cusp of suicide.
Wow.
I was a very dark place in my life. Life's over. I don't want this anymore. And the Lord intervened in the moment of. And that was when it became real to me. That's when I was like, okay, God isn't just a distant, just church, just culture God. He is a real, loving, merciful God. Yes, that was my moment of conversion. And just to finish that story out, my dad is now clean. He has been since my freshman year, which is really cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
And he runs a program for guys who are trying to get clean.
Really?
So completely turned around. He's a pastor now.
Love it. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I used to say when I was pastoring, I would love to have people testify, because I would say, like, what you testify about is kind of giving people permission to believe that God might do the same thing for them. You know, so your dad helping other guys get clean is awesome, because he's not just like, oh, God could do it, I believe that. No, he's like, God can do it because he did.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, Revelation says they will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony.
Yep.
So it's so important because it bolsters others' faith when we talk about what's happened to us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How about you, Chloe?
So for me, it all started with my grandma. So she's an awesome lady. So we spent a lot of time with her. She helped raise me and my brother. So we spent a lot of time with them, especially like on the weekends. We would spend the night. And so I just remember she would end the night by like sitting in the living room, just like in the dark. And she would get on her knees, like in front of the couch, and she would just be praying.
Yeah.
And she would be praying in Spanish, so I couldn't like understand, but I would just sit with her and like know that, like, you know, she's here and she's praying like faithfully to God. So it was just really cool. Yeah. And she would take us to church on Sundays. And I didn't really enjoy kids ministry at the time, so I would sit in like the adult service with her. Like, I don't know why.
Too mature for
Which
the
is
kids
ironic.
service.
Yeah, I'm a children's director now, so like, but yeah. So just through that, and then didn't hang out with her on the weekends anymore because my parents split up. So we would spend the weekends with my dad. So kind of between I don't know, maybe like the age of 7 until like 13, I was kind of just doing my own thing, but I still knew that like God existed. So he was still part of my life, but I was kind of just doing my own thing. So when I was 13, my mom had a friend that lived across the street from a church, and they were like, hey, I've been wanting to like check it out. So my mom and her friend went. My mom kept going, even though her friend didn't keep going. And so she would start asking me if I wanted to go with her. So I finally came in one Sunday, and it was just like family, and like, you know, you could just like feel like the presence of God. And like at that time I was just so insecure, you know, I'm like a middle schooler, like the awkward stage, and I was just like, it just kind of like filled like God filled the hole in my heart that I had at the time, and they just became my family. They loved on me. So yeah.
That's awesome. So it's interesting because in your story, proximity mattered. That church being right across the street, is that right? Like, we should check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Definitely.
That's awesome. So you guys got saved, and you came to Northpoint, Zion, and now you're married. Do you guys want to tell us how that happened?
Sure. You want to tell your end of the story first?
Sure. So I started Northpoint in the spring of 2013, and then Trever came in the fall of 2013. And so I was already kind of established, like walking out the cafeteria door, and he was there, and he was all like shy.
Came down from heaven, and it was shining on Trever, and
My
an
beard
angel
was
said,
glistening.
Yeah, his beard. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he's cute. But we were like, I was dating someone else, so like,
Oh, no.
but we became good friends. We became really close. So yeah, and then we kind of like dated other people, and then we reconnected at a friend's wedding 3 years ago.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, Trever, you said tell your side of the story.
Yeah.
So let's go back.
I didn't know who Chloe was my entire first year. I'm gonna be real. I had no idea. I actually had broken up with a girl a week before I came to Northpoint. Wow. So I was like, I'm never gonna look at girls again. So I didn't know you existed for a while. I think it was my sophomore year. I was actually dating someone else, and that went really south. And I was talking to like my closest friend on campus. He was like, "You should talk to my girlfriend Chloe." And I was like, "Okay." And he gave me her number, and we would text like all the time.
Hold on. When he said you should talk to my girlfriend Chloe, he meant like my friend who is a girl.
No, like my girlfriend.
Yeah,
that was like I was dating
his
a
girlfriend.
Advice.
Yeah,
Counsel.
for advice. You should talk to her.
Okay.
She's good with this stuff. She'll
Okay.
help you out. And I was like, all right. And then we ended up talking like every day. So we became like really close. And then I ended up leaving Northpoint without finishing in 2017. And I kind of didn't talk to anyone that much. We saw each other like on and off. And then I started working at Starbucks. This is when we actually started talking. I can't believe you don't remember.
This is true.
I started working at Starbucks, and one night my coffee brewer caught on fire. And instead of calling support, I just took my phone out and took a video of it and posted it on Instagram. And Chloe replied to it, and then that's it. That's history.
I was working at Starbucks at the same time, so I was like, "Oh, crazy! Ours was like on fire yesterday."
So if you're wondering, Starbucks breweries that catch on fire all the time.
Yeah. And they don't call the fire department. They just
Yeah. We just tell other baristas. About it.
That is amazing. So how long have you guys been married now?
Almost 2
Almost
years
2 years.
in October.
Wow.
Cool.
That's awesome. Congrats.
We're
Now-
still newbies.
While you were students, are there any professors that stick out to you that just like made a huge impact on you? I mean, this is your chance to give them a little shout out because you know they all watch. You know, we're big time.
Absolutely.
Dr.
Oh my
Howell.
goodness.
There were a lot. There were a lot of people who poured into me, were there for me, just were spiritual mentors, taught me, obviously, because they were professors, but beyond just, here's what the book says. And a few that come to mind, Dr. Henry Reiber was a big influence on me. He was my coach for almost 2 years after we finished classes. Dr. Patrick Gallagher was huge. I went through a bout of depression here where I almost got kicked out because of it. And when I went and sat with him, he mentored me, and he took care of a lot of things that shouldn't have been taken care of. Like he moved a lot of things around for me so that I can stay. And he was actually the main reason why, I started seeing a therapist and I wanted to get better, was because this guy who's so established was like, you can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the point where he was even like, we all just need help. And it was really cool. Dr. Howell, like seriously, some of the best classes I ever took. I actually audited a class with him where I didn't get any credit for it. I just wanted to be there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, theological thinking and writing my junior year. And it was one of the best classes I've ever taken. I took Psalms prayer with him. Like he was absolutely amazing. And I get to work with him, which is even
That's awesome.
Yeah,
so
that's
much
really
cooler.
neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then Brother Hodge was a huge impact on me. Same with Pastor Ben Phillips was another huge impact. Like people who helped me stay the course and really like poured into me when I was here.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's always good to know that you're going somewhere where you're not just getting information like tossed at you, but there's people.
Yeah.
Like they care about you. They care about your soul. They care about your life. Yeah. So
Chloe?
For me, I would have to say Ray Monroe. Yeah, he was really awesome. I took classes with him, like we had gen eds, and he was always awesome in those classes. But then I was a missions major for a little while, and the program was small at the time, so I would have classes with him all the time, and we would only have like 3 or 4 people, so they were very like intimate classes. But yeah, he was just awesome. He was always like vulnerable, like open-minded, open-hearted, and just really like poured into us. And so I actually ended up talking to him as a counselor as well, because he did counseling. And so even just through that, like, he definitely like changed my life in areas.
Yeah. So if you were to say, from the time you were a student or being a staff, what would you say is one of your favorite things about Northpoint?
The people. It's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The staff and the people who are just here. I mean, even we're just talking about professors and whatnot, just the professors alone. It's more than just school for them.
Right.
It's a lot more. And that was one thing that kept me, and one thing that not too long ago I was thinking about transitioning out of here into a different job, into something a little more lucrative when it comes down to it.
Sure.
And the thing that kept me from leaving was the people, was that I won't see them every day. And it wasn't like, oh, they're my friends. It's like, no, these people spiritually pour into me every day.
Yeah.
These are people that I get fed when I come here.
Yeah.
And the thought of losing that was more overwhelming than anything else.
Yeah.
So even as a student with graduating, there was definitely a moment where I was like, wow. And I thought about everyone I've met, other students, alumni, teachers, and how much of an impact each one had on me, and how I wouldn't have been able to walk if it wasn't for them. So
yeah, it's the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even like Amy and Amber, like I've known Amy forever because she was registrar, but the day I walked out into the line and she high-fived me and she was like, "You did it!" Like she was so excited.
That's my registrar.
Yeah. But it was cool just to see, like, her position is you file papers and you tell you what classes you go to. I mean, it's a lot more than that.
Sure.
But it's not hands-on like a pastoral position or like something where you're seeing students every day. But she does the most to interact with them.
Yeah, that's true.
And she was genuinely excited.
She was.
That
She was
you
actually,
graduated.
yeah.
That you did it.
And it meant something.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, hey, congratulations. It was like, you did it. I watched you do it. I'm so proud of you.
Right.
Yeah. There was a time, so I studied in Belgium for a semester, and this was during my college years, obviously, and but I had this identity crisis at the time, and we were traveling, and a couple friends and I, we would go, we went to London, and we went to Verona and Venice, so
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah.
no, I'm serious, I'm in Venice, and I'm having this moment where I'm like, this is pretty neat, but when it comes down to it, life is really about people. I know it sounds super cliche, but truly, I had this moment where I was like, wait a second. I'm in one of the top tourist destinations in the world. And it's cool. It's all right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I would love, I love just playing games with friends.
Yeah.
And hanging out. And when it comes down to it, yeah, it's kind of, man, life is so much about who you do community with and just people. Yeah. Chloe, what's one of your favorite things?
I think one of my favorite things would have to be the growth. It's definitely, I don't know, trial by fire, I guess. We've talked about it in classes where it's kind of like an incubator where it's it forces you to I don't know, kind of prepare your heart for ministry before you go straight into it. And part of it is the community, the people you're interacting with. We have people from all over the world, all over the country. And so it's just all of these different personalities and different worldviews, but we're all here for the same reason, and to go into ministry and, to love God.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, before we get to talk about a couple things that you guys are involved in that you're excited about coming up, you both are serving in ministry in a local church. So I want to make sure, you mentioned that, give a little shout out, talk about what you do, because you both are very crucial to this awesome church. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So we serve at Restoration Road in Wakefield, Massachusetts. I am the pastoral candidate, which means I'm up for candidacy to get voted in a few months to be one of the pastors at the church. And I am currently the AV and media lead, and I'm also the leader of our discipleship, development, and members like community. Wow. So all of our small groups, if someone wants to get baptized, we meet together. My whole job is to just build community in the church and give people a reason to, not a reason to keep coming back, but I guess a draw. You know what I mean? Because community is so important to the Christian walk that you can get very lost when you're in church.
Right.
So my job is essentially to let's set up community. Let's build groups of people that are like-minded so that they can do church together outside of church.
So you kind of like facilitate
the
community. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So together we also lead a small group on Wednesday nights. So that's just kind of a small group of people from our church that we get together with. We usually have a bonfire, so that's fun.
I like a good
even
bonfire.
in the winter,
Of course,
year round.
We get good conversations around a bonfire.
Right.
Good. That's true.
Yeah, but for me, I serve in 3 roles currently. So I am the church administrator, as well as the treasurer and the children's director. So that includes children's ministry as well as a middle school ministry.
Coming from the young child who did not sit in.
Right?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Even that though, like, yeah, I'm sure you make the kids want to be there. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So now you both are involved in not just your jobs here at Northpoint, but other things. So Trever specifically, you were on the esports team this last year, serving as one of our captains. But now, I mean, can we announce this? Is this big news? I mean, Trever is our coach for our esports team, for the Northpoint Eagles esports team.
Let's go.
Which
Fly,
are members
Eagles,
of the
fly.
National Association of Collegiate Esports.
I don't
We're
even
big
know what you
time.
just
I'm an
said.
athlete, Mom. It's finally happened.
You did it.
Yeah. You can be semi-proud of me.
Yeah. But talk a little bit about our esports program. Last year was our first year, and so kind of what you're seeing from it, but also what you're hoping to see this next year and what excites you about it.
Yeah, definitely. So last year, participating was a little different than what coaching will be, but it was a blast. I made a lot of friends with people I didn't really know on campus. It was fun getting to lead and organize. We got our butts kicked a lot, mostly because we put ourselves in the wrong bracket.
First
so
year.
When you
yeah.
when you play against the best.
Yeah.
we were playing against like semi-pros and Twitch streamers, and we got
But you know what?
wrecked. So, but it was fun.
There is a number in our win category that is
There
not
is.
0.
We won once.
Yeah.
That is
Counts.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was we played really well together against like normal teams, not collegiate level
Right.
Athletes. But whenever we'd get destroyed, we'd be like, all right, let's play a few games and just destroy somebody else. We need to bring this to someone else immediately.
So it's not by any means that the team was bad.
Oh,
I want
no,
to be
we
clear.
were
It's like,
actually-
no, you guys were great.
We had only 2 people who actually. So last year we played Overwatch,
Mm-hmm.
and we only had 2 people who played before. So we had to teach 4 people how to play a team cooperative game that has a roster of 28 characters who are all completely unique and different. So trying to teach people who have never played on a computer, like nevertheless played Overwatch before, and they're like, "What's this button do? What's that? How'd this happen?" I'm just okay, but it was a good time. It was fun. It was honestly just a great time. I think everybody really enjoyed it, and I want to bring that fun we had back into the mix this year.
That's good.
Even with more stuff. Like I want to do community events where we just open up the esports room, get people to come in and see, because a lot of people didn't even know what we were doing. So it got to a point where they're announcing we have an esports game, and kids are like, "What's esports?" I don't like. Derek's like, "I play Madden. Does that count? It's a sport and it's a game?" But we had one night where we had a competitive game, and there were people just standing in the outside and the other side of the glass just watching us.
I was actually going to ask that. So, like, there could be participants for this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we
Oh,
can
yeah.
come okay.
Yeah. So, and it was fun because everybody's cheering, they're having fun. We have it set up on the screen out there, so they're watching it. They're watching us play. It was a good time, and I want to do more things like that.
Yeah.
So I want to get us into a little bit more like casual leagues. 'Cause
Right.
we don't really have programmers here. We have people who are pretty good, but we don't have a team that's like, "Oh, we can compete." I really don't think any of us want to be like, "Let's compete." Everybody just wants to, let's have fun.
So, all right. So, in some sports, like if you were to play basketball, the coach would be like, all right, you need to be tall or agile, or like there's this list of competencies, I guess, that you would have. What does an esport athlete look like?
Oh, well, I need to check
Who are you
everybody's
recruiting?
IQ, their DPI, their hand-eye coordination. No, We play a few games together, and I feel like if you're very easily grasping something, then I'll take you on. Or if you just know it already. Like we had one student last year who we needed a sixth person. We lost our sixth person. What do we do? And they had never played Overwatch before, but they played a game kind of similar. So we played 2 or 3 games together, and it was like, all right, you're not great, but we can do this. We can make this work. And they came back like a week later, and they were like, I learned every character. And I was like,
whoa,
what?
okay.
Like, they completely surprised me because they were like, I learned what everybody does. I've been watching streams. I've been like watching videos, and I've been doing like target practice. And I think like I got this. And they got so much better over the course of the semester that towards the end of the year, I put them on par with anybody else we were playing with.
Cool.
And they all had a semester
exciting.
beforehand.
Yeah.
So
you don't have to be a pro gamer necessarily to
Not at all.
make the team.
And it's both guys and girls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, esports. Let's go.
Yeah, we're excited about it. So what are the games that we're hoping to play this next season?
there's a lot, and it really comes down to who wants to play.
Right.
Because there are games offered, but if people don't want to play them, there's no reason to sign up for them.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get an Overwatch team going again. I'm pretty sure we want to have a full roster, which would be nice. We want to get a Rocket League team going, which is like soccer with cars.
Right.
Which
I've
is,
that's a cool game.
I've played that
Yeah.
one
Cool
before.
game.
we actually have a student here who's like decently good and was almost drafted by another collegiate team. So he was
Right.
almost on like another team, but it didn't work out for him.
Wow.
So it'd be cool because he can teach other people how to play.
Yeah.
I think Madden and 2K are on there. So we have a bunch of guys
They are.
here who play.
Even Fortnite.
Yeah,
is on the
Fortnite's
list.
on there. We have a bunch of guys playing Fortnite
Yeah.
now.
So you could either do, I think, solos or squads or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
All right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
When the year comes around, we'll make a list and we'll do a vote. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'll put it all on a whiteboard and have everybody just vote. I want to play this, I want to play that, and we'll see where we get.
Yeah. And one things I love about the esports program is, yeah, you could come in and it's like, all right, the good gamers can all play Overwatch, everything. But if you just want to hang out and play games with some buddies, you can be on the esports team. You can call your mom and say you're a college athlete and then just hang out with your buddies and play video games.
Yeah. The amount of times I go in there and people are just playing Minecraft is it's awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's a sense of community that we didn't have before.
Yep.
And for a little while, especially in Christian circles, it was looked down on. So to be able to take it and elevate it and say, this is a community, these are
Right.
people, and there are also a need here for the gospel.
Right.
Because it's one of the most untapped communities currently. And there are people who are using things like Twitch and YouTube, or even like Microsoft. They have like a streaming platform on Xbox for a while, to reach and be able to preach the gospel and to reach this group. I did that for a few years, and it was a great time.
Yeah.
But this group, like, they just recently announced that almost all professional teams will be able to have chaplains. So you can become an official esports chaplain and travel with the team and be their spiritual advisor. So like this is a real thing. A lot of people think it's just some guy in his mom's basement, but I actually read a study a few years ago comparing the mental capacity of football players versus the mental capacity of League of Legends pros. And the amount of hand-eye and the amount of like input per second in their mind was drastically above the football players. And it was crazy to think about that.
Wow.
Like if they had the build for it, they would be perfect at it. But they don't because they play computer games all day. So
I think it's so cool because you talked about chaplains for esports. I mean, so somebody who's watching, whether a prospective student or even a current student who loves video games, they could come here, be a part of this team, and potentially take steps to be an esports chaplain when they graduate Northpoint.
Yeah.
And like
100%.
we can help make that happen.
Yeah.
That blows my mind how crazy that is.
It's true. It's not something I thought of when I went to school.
No.
You know.
So
it's a real
like
thing.
you said, it's not
Yeah.
just playing video games, but it's like there's so much potential here. And just like with all of our college athletes for any college anywhere, there's eligibility expectations, academic expectations. You have to go to class, you have to go to chapel, those things. So it's
Yeah.
not just a bunch of people staying up late playing video games. It's like, no. You're part of this team
Yeah,
where there's
yeah.
expectations, but you're going to have a lot of fun.
That's what I was saying. I mean, we already mentioned it, but like, yeah, it's an opportunity to join a team.
Join
Be with people.
a community.
Have fun. Community.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So we have esports, but Chloe, you're also involved in a lot of student development stuff, a lot of activities. So anything specific excites you about this year coming up?
Man, I don't know. Yeah, so we've got student council. We've got a full roster this year. So that's exciting coming out of the pandemic. I'm just really excited to get some consistency and some big events going on, now that we don't have all these restrictions. So now we don't necessarily have to worry about all these events that we're planning getting canceled, which was the case a lot.
True.
So, I'm just excited for them to be able to plan things out and to grow in leadership.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're a current student, then you know Chloe and Trever. But if you're a prospective student, these are two people that you're going to probably hear from a good bit.
You will talk to a lot.
Yeah.
Academic, student development.
There we go. So we want to make sure you know them. Also with academics, wanted to mention this too, give a shout out. Something exciting happening at the school now is we just launched our Hispanic program.
Yeah.
And we're actually having a school for those who speak Spanish or want to pursue a degree in Spanish. And they're going to be able to do that here.
And all the classes
online.
taught in Spanish.
Yeah, everything is in Spanish. So super excited for that. Having gone to I think it was a trilingual school when I was in Belgium again. Languages matter. Like if your professor's not teaching in the right. Now I did go to English classes, obviously, but if I would have attended those French classes, I was gonna say no bueno, but that's not even.
That's not even.
So, well, guys, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
And it's exciting to hear a little more of your stories. Anything else you want to add?
No.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. We're gonna pray for them.
Love
I think
it.
We did that. Yeah, we're gonna pray for them. And if you didn't catch last episode, make sure you watch that. Again, we had a lot of updates from the summer, and we're gonna be having guests from this point onward, interviewing a lot of more faculty and staff. We're gonna get President Arnett on here as well, which would be great. So, but for now, let's pray for you guys, and then we'll wrap this up. So, God, we thank you for Trever and for Chloe. God, thank you for their stories. Thank you for your overarching story of redemption being told in their lives and being told individually, but then also them as a couple and now also as a community. And Lord, we just pray blessing on them. We thank you for the roles they play here at Northpoint as well, Lord, as the staff members that they are. And we just ask that you would continue to guide them, Lord, continue to minister to them in their personal lives, but also then through them, Lord, at their church, God, Restoration Road, and everything they do here. We just pray your blessing upon them and that they would know you and make you known in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, guys, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for watching and or listening. I mean, you can watch this on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I mean, we're big time.
Well, I think we have an Instagram account.
Legit.
We have an Instagram account,
Yes.
The Northpoint Guys. I mean, producer Matt is dropping videos on there like crazy, and they are hilarious. I mean, I have watched them multiple times, not because I'm on it, but just because of how funny they are. And so, and like always, this podcast is produced fabulously by Matt Caforio. And if you didn't know, if you listen to the audio version, the voice at the beginning of the
How did
podcast
we almost forget this?
is Chloe.
Chloe Primus.
Can you give us a welcome to the Northpoint Guys podcast? just so they know, it's like, this is Chloe. Go ahead.
Welcome to the Northpoint Guys podcast.
It is.
Whoa! There you go. So
right.
let that blow your mind for a second. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.